Hey, you clicked on my video. Appreciate it. Now be sure to like the video and subscribe to the page. Long enough to cover the subject and short enough to keep it interesting. Welcome to Outta My League. I'm Nick Diaz. After LSU baseball got Tommy Tanks from the portal, and then they essentially matched Wes Johnson's salary for the Minnesota Twins, I said it took a scare tactic to essentially get LSU baseball boosters, who are different than other LSU boosters, to buy in fully to take their program that now is run by Jay Johnson to take it to the next level. It took a scare tactic. And that scare tactic was Tennessee coming out of nowhere and the two Mississippi schools winning in Omaha. LSU football has a lot in place to succeed. The new NIL laws are in place for the state of Louisiana, and they give LSU an advantage over many schools. I explained what they are, and if you haven't listened to it, I left a link in the description. They have a proven head coach with an elite pedigree who has hired a staff of great recruiters, no dead weight from my understanding, and that staff on and off the field has deep Louisiana ties. The one thing that they have left to figure out are the LSU football boosters, because some of them, not all, the prominent ones, are still supposedly not all the way committed to NIL just yet. And many people believe that's the truth because they just spent a shit ton of money on Kim Mulkey, hiring Jay Johnson, buying out Ed Ogeron, then paying Brian Kelly. So those boosters are essentially saying, hey, leave me alone. Alabama did not fire or hire a bunch of coaches lately. Neither did Texas A&M or Ohio State or Georgia or Tennessee, who fired their football coach for cause, but that was almost 2 years ago. LSU has the money. Let me make that very clear. They have the money. They don't have Texas or Texas A&M money, but they have money to compete for it with everyone else. Their collective of boosters are just currently saying, what else do you want me to do, man? After all I've just done for you in the past year. So, maybe losing out on a second five-star safety back-to-back years in the state of Louisiana to another Texas school, maybe that's the scare tactic to get those LSU boosters, the last remaining LSU boosters, to finally listen to Scott Woodward and Brian Kelly when it comes to NIL. Maybe. Now, I believe there is some fickleness to the NIL commitment from some LSU boosters, prominent ones. I believe there is. I just question how much fickleness LSU boosters are to NIL, because I've also been told the counter-argument. When is the last time you've heard any fundraiser ever say, hey, we don't need any more money right now? Because Harold Perkins was committed to Texas last summer. Then he was committed to Texas A&M for his entire senior season. And then LSU won on the last second on signing day. I'd imagine the number one linebacker in the country has a lot of NIL money on the table. LSU got the number 3 transfer portal class in the country with top players signing NIL deals. I think some LSU boosters are being reluctant. That's true. But I also think some of it is also a little bit overblown with scare tactics by LSU fundraisers. So, let's say it takes a Derek Williams or someone else in state to force the final prominent LSU boosters to stop being so damn stubborn and get off their ass. Then maybe that's it. Maybe that's all there is, because there's nothing that pisses anybody off in LSU country when you lose an in-state recruit. But let's say you fix all that. You still have one last problem that is kind of unsolvable. LSU will never have as much money as A&M or UT. But guess what? No one will. Except maybe Miami with their new billionaire booster. Maybe. But this is everyone's problem. Nick Saban has thrown up his hands in frustration to his own boosters, saying, I can't win that battle anymore on signing day. At the 11th hour, I can't flip the commitment that I've always been able to do. If it's a bidding war at the 11th hour, like it was with LSU and A&M, with Jacoby Matthews on signing day, guess what? In those type of battles, I'm losing them too. So it's everyone's problem. But here is what LSU can do for the time being. I have an idea. It may be bullshit, but you clicked on the show called Out of My League. So that's on you if it is. Once LSU gets the rest of the remaining boosters on board whenever that day eventually comes, and it will, I guarantee you. Here's what they do. They lay low. They lay low. See, the law in Louisiana that says NIL deals are no longer public record, which means A&M and many others can't just come in and make quicker offers by looking up public records request and seeing how much each kid makes. So if you're LSU and you are losing out on the kids who have handlers, that could be an estranged dad that comes in at the last second, an uncle, an older stepbrother that comes into the picture and says, "Hold up, I'm in charge of this thing now. Let's milk this thing for all we got. Let's get a little extra something." Well, what you do if you're LSU, if you have that situation with a specific big-time recruit, and I won't name any names, all you do is make an NIL offer until the 11th hour, right before signing day. You pitch the kid on the school, the scheme, the staff, building the relationship, which still all that stuff does matter. I proved that in yesterday's episode. But you don't make the official, final NIL offer until the night before or the morning of signing day. Because here's the thing. It also states that Brian Kelly and the coaches can directly talk with recruits on NIL deals. Those are the new laws in Louisiana. Texas schools cannot do that. Alabama schools cannot do that. Florida schools cannot even do that. So the deal is also legally private. That prevents the richer and deeper Texas and Texas A&M boosters to have enough time for a counteroffer before signing that national letter of intent. Now, could that kid, or most likely his handler, tell the UT or A&M booster what the deal actually is with LSU? Sure. Again, this could be a bullshit solution that's half-baked. But LSU laying low until the very last minute, it makes the other school's counteroffer process slower and more complicated on a signing day, a day which you cannot be slow or complicated. LSU needs to do that instead of getting into a bidding war out in the open for a month before signing day. You're eventually going to lose that battle because they have more pockets than you do. Where reportedly many people said that big-time recruit was crying to Frank Wilson on signing day to the rest of the LSU staff saying, "I want to go to LSU, but I can't. I got to take, I got to take the money. I'm sorry." Not every recruit is like that, by the way. Well, Nick, not every kid in Louisiana wants to be at LSU. Get over yourself. Correct. I've heard Ryan Clark, Booger McFarland, Marcus Spears, and Kevin Falk admit to not being LSU fans growing up. And then I also heard Dylan Moses, Hootie Jones, Christian Harris, and Jacoby Matthews all say they grew up big-time LSU fans. You see my point? Now, not every recruit is like that, by the way. But the in-state kids who come from poorer backgrounds and have handlers, there's a strategy to handle that handler. But LSU has advantages with NIL laws. All LSU needs to do now is convince all the other boosters to be committed to NIL, even if that means scaring them by losing another big-time in-state recruit. Thanks for listening to Out of My League. If you like what you heard, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Or follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok in the description link below.